Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's FEMTalks. My name is Milan. I'm a director of marketing here at Booster, and I'm here today with Jessica Sun. So Jessica, would you like to introduce yourself?
So hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm a fourth year consumer behavior student at Western. In terms of my past experiences, I spent this past summer working at TikTok in sales, and I've previously also worked at RBC, Parks Canada, and for a few startups. In terms of campus involvement, I've honestly dabbled into quite a few things, but have limited my involvement this year to just a Christian club and a fintech startup that I'm working for. And on a more personal note, I love hiking and exploring new places around the world.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your introduction, Jessica. I would just like to go over those internships you were mentioning in your introduction. So you just said you dabbled into many different internships, and I just wanted to ask about what was your recruiting experience like going into those different industries?
Yeah, so I think honestly, recruiting is not easy. And I think the key thing, just to hear from someone who has multiple experiences, you have to go through a lot of no's in order to get a yes, especially in your first and second years. Don't be discouraged. And I think the one thing to keep in mind is university is your opportunity to explore what you want to do. And there is no pressure to recruit for certain industries because everyone else is recruiting for it. So I think in terms of more applicable advice for anyone looking to recruit for internships, I think in your first and second year, I would personally encourage you to just dabble into what interests you. And that way you will learn over time what you like and what you don't like. And for those of you who don't know what you want to do, was my case in my first year, I think just look for opportunities that will make you happy and will also allow you to learn certain skills that will set you up for the following year. And if you don't know what those opportunities are for you, what I've always fallen back to is just talking to people. I think as I've gone through, I didn't even know there was an opportunity at TikTok, but as you talk to more people, you'll learn about more opportunities, and that's how you broaden your scope of what's actually available in the industry, because it's always changing, right? Will never know what's available.
For sure. I definitely agree. Especially in first and second year. I myself am in second year, so you hear consulting or finance being the main recruiting opportunity and very competitive. But hearing just from your experience from going from Parks Canada to TikTok and sales, it's obviously way more than that. So that's great advice to hear that that students should be pursuing different alternatives and whatever makes them happy, not just what everyone else is doing. I definitely agree to that advice. That's great.
I think just to add to that too, it's if you know what you want to do, that's great and you can build up your experiences there. But even if you do, I think it's also great to explore other options just to know that you're not missing out on different opportunities, because when you are full time, it's definitely harder to experience things. And if you don't want to, you don't get that 4-month break and you're going back to school. So definitely take advantage of these internships.
Yeah, just touching back on that point about having a diverse portfolio of internships, I think students sometimes have this mindset that your internship should be relative to an industry you're working towards, so therefore in later years you get a bigger name or title. But coming from you with different portfolios and different internships from many different industries, how would you say that skill set helped you in terms of your roles now and getting the sales at TikTok?
Yeah, I think when you know what you want to do and as you narrow your scope of what you're recruiting for, I think it becomes easier for you, just because you'll know what types of skills, experiences, and just network and the people you should meet. And that will help you as you know what you want to recruit for. But I think it's two different branches. If you don't know what you want to do, I would say try things. But if you do, I would say go for what it is you want. And if you don't land there, you'll land close to there. In terms of how I landed my role, I didn't even know what sales was. So it was kind of luck and just timing. But I think I went for a company I was interested in. And that happened to work out for me. So it doesn't always have to be a specific role. It could just be industry wide and you can always pivot. But just know it's an internship and you're not going to be stuck there. So yeah.
Yes, definitely agree. You're definitely not stuck there. Right? Just touching back on your point about not knowing anything about sales, but you landed a role at TikTok. I'd love to know like an explanation for our listeners about what exactly sales is, because I personally do not know either.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because in school, like there isn't necessarily a sales course, or if there is, it's like not something everyone is attracted to because it's like
Mm,
you don't hear people who are in business say like, "Oh, I want to go into sales."
most
And I think it's
definitely. Yeah.
because sometimes there's a negative connotation in what they do. You might think of them as just like transactional people, just like profit minded, and just like trying to
Mhm.
get more money. But I think what I've learned is, first of all, there are multiple like business models in terms of sales. So at TikTok, we're in an entertainment media type business model,
For
which
sure.
means we sell ads. And I think the best way to say how sales at TikTok works is you're a consultant for other companies who want to advertise on platform. So you're really in the business of helping people and you're in the business of storytelling. And I
Mhm.
think when you think about it that way, you come to realize that there's a lot of interesting and transferable skills that you can learn from being in such an industry. And I think, I guess this is a side note, but it's also really fun when you work in sales because like that competition can make you more motivated to want to do better. But yeah, hopefully that gives like a general synopsis of what it is.
Yeah, I definitely like what you described it with storytelling. I definitely see what you mean because, from my opinion of sales, I think it's very human connectedness and like you're trying to connect what you're trying to sell with whoever consumer you're using. So, in terms of you at TikTok with ads, it's pretty cool to see like, or probably work behind the scenes on that, connecting these ads to people and getting them translated into qualified leads. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. One thing they emphasized a lot during like our trainings is like when you're on like a client meeting or anything like that, you never want to sell the product. Like you want to sell the
Mm.
story. So like if I were selling something to you, Milan, like I don't want to just sell like, oh, this is such a great product for like selling ads. Because or else they lose you, right? So
Yes.
it really is about like how can you negotiate on your end to create that to get a better offer, a better deal, but also how can you make it seem like you're just like being genuine and you want to build that relationship.
Mhm.
So it's an interesting balance.
Yes. And I guess from your consumer behavior background too, it also relates to trust and like understanding on that background too. So it's pretty cool that it's interconnected like that. So
Yeah, coincidence.
yes, yes. So just going over what your experience at TikTok, that was great to hear about the interconnectedness with sales and your role at school. I just wanted to ask maybe any key takeaways that you learned from your internship, whether that was industry related tools, key insights. I understand that you grew your sales network, sales knowledge, but was there any key experiences that you'd like to share with the group?
So in terms of experiences, I think this was the first year they hosted like the internship program in Canada and maybe the second year in the US. So it was
Mm,
relatively new.
okay.
I think one thing I definitely had to balance was like dealing with ambiguity because they didn't have like necessarily one project that you worked on throughout the whole summer, and it was like multiple projects piled on top of each other.
Uh,
Um, but I think like just a general takeaway from an intern perspective is like you should be there to learn as much as you can and to figure out if it's something you like, and also just to meet people. And I
mhm.
think that's really what I made of my internship. I ended up asking for things I want to do and also like networking with people within and outside of my specific function. So outside of sales, whether it's product marketing, etc. But yeah, I think like just take those opportunities as an intern. In terms of sales, like I never knew I was going to do an internship in sales, but I think
Mhm.
it definitely opened multiple doors in terms of like tech and also business functions. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. Like my first time working in tech too. So tech is definitely a fun industry to be in, especially when you work in entertainment. But it really is what you make of it.
Awesome. I love that point that you said. It really is what you make of it. I think, uh, like what you're saying with making the most of your experience and asking questions and reaching out and growing your network is
Hmm.
a huge part to make the most out of 4 months of time. Do you have any advice for first years or second years going into their first few internships and recruiting currently, how they can stand out, even if they weren't experienced? Like, let's say you didn't have any experience in sales before and you got a sales internship. How did you market yourself to get into those roles?
For sure. I don't know if this is the case across industry, but
Okay.
I do know in a lot of sales roles, like they hire based on who you are and if you're a good fit for the company. Um, and if that is your case, you will see a lot of behavioral questions. You'll see a lot of questions tailored towards like who you are as a person and do you fit the company culture.
Okay.
And I think the reason for that is because sales is such a conversational, like people person type of role. They want people who are fun, and I think that might just be like TikTok's company culture, but
Hmm.
I think they really do look for that. But I guess speaking to the end of like more technical or just skills that you should look for, I would say always look at the job description and what they ask. And if you don't have that skill set, find a way to get that experience. And
Okay.
it doesn't have to be like an internship experience. It could be as simple as I did a personal project and that's how I acquired that skill. But as long as you can show that you have those core competencies, I think in the interview round, just try and like show off your personality, especially in like a fun role and at a fun company. I would say that's what they look for.
Yes, personality. Oh, awesome. I love that advice.
Yeah, it's not like most traditional interviews where you might have like case rounds or whatnot. But I think, yeah, from my experience at least, that was definitely how my interviews went. It was super chill, super casual.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And it is loosens up the nerves for sure from we're hearing about these very difficult, strenuous, intense interviews. But that's great that personality peeks through in your interviews is for sure.
Mhm.
Awesome. I think those are all the questions we have for today, but thank you so much again for coming on our FEMTalks today, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you
Awesome.
for having me.
Yes, for sure. So if anybody has any questions for Jessica, is there any way we can contact you on your socials?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll usually reply to you there. It's just Jessica Sun. So any questions about career, school, anything, happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this is our end of our FEN Talks. Bye, everybody.